Hello and welcome to Polyglot Principles. This is the channel where I help you to learn a language like a genius by teaching you the principles of language learning. Welcome once again. My name is Modja, and today's video is about how to speak from day one, right? This is the title of the video. So you've probably heard this information before from someone like Benny Lewis, I think. He's very common with that, and other people also say that if you want to speak a language, you want to speak as soon as possible. And some people go even extreme. They tell you, hey, you want to learn a language, you want to speak from day one. Start today. So we're going to talk about that. How can you speak from day one? Is it important for you to speak from day one? And so on. And I'm going to be sharing very useful tips in this video right through to the end as usual. So if you don't want to miss out on any good tips on how to take your language learning to the next level, then please make sure you stick to the end. Alright, so I have a question for you. Is it possible to speak from day one? That's the question, right? Think about it. Imagine that you've never spoken a language before. You don't know a single word. You don't know any grammar. You don't know any structures, nothing at all. You don't even know the pronunciation. Does it really make sense? Is it even possible for you to speak from the very first day? Right? What do you think? I want to know what you think. Please go in the comment section below and tell me whether you think it's possible to speak from day one. And then let's check if your response agrees with mine. All right? So take a few minutes to do that. All right. So now back to what we're talking about. Before we even, so is it possible to start speaking from day one? Absolutely. But the answer I give you is yes, it's possible to do it. Actually, I know exactly how you can do it. But before we go to that, it's not just important to say, we're not just going to start by talking about how to speak from day one. A basic question is why, right? Before you figure out how, you want to figure out why, okay? So this is kind of a characteristic of our generation. Some comedian was talking about it. Don't know how true it is, but we tend to, instead of think about why to do something, we like to focus on how to do it. Right, and usually we get discouraged even for that, right? You have a dream or you want to become fluent in a language. Before you even start, before you're figuring out why you want to become fluent, why you want to learn that language, you try and think of how you're going to do it, and maybe you get discouraged and so on. So let's first start with why. Why speak from day one? What are the benefits of speaking from the very first day? All right. So look. There are many language activities that you can do, right? You can speak with your mouth, you can listen, you can read, you can write, you could watch videos. There's so many things you can do, right, to improve your language. You could do translations. But the question is, what is the most important activity you can do as a language learner? The most important activity you can do is speaking. Look, if you don't have time and there's nothing that you really don't know what you can do, like you can't do everything and you can only do one thing. Question is, what one thing should you do? What one action can you take that will give you the greatest results as a learner of a language? And without doubt, the answer is speak. You want to speak. Speaking is the most important language learning activity. If you don't read and you don't write and you just speak with natives or people who speak the language, you'll notice a tremendous progress, right? And if you continue that way, your language skills will only get better and better and better. All right, so it makes sense then why you want to speak from day one, because you want to start doing the most important activity as soon as possible. And there's no time sooner than the very first day, right? So many people sometimes tend to, it's very common when people try to learn a language, they take an academic approach. Start by learning the grammar, and you learn how to read and to write and to listen. All of this stuff is great, but it's not the most important activity. It's not going to give you the best results, right? And you've probably noticed this. Maybe you've seen someone or you've been in the same boat where you spent years, maybe in high school, learning a language, learning how to read it, and you did very little speaking, and you notice that after years, you still can't talk, right? You still can't speak Spanish, or you still can't speak French, or whatever the heck the language is, right? So you know that the academic approach is not going to work. You want to speak as soon as possible, right? And you want to start speaking from, I personally don't really start from day one. I typically start with pronunciation first. But starting from day one is also a good is also a good strategy. You just have to adapt for it in different ways. So we've already thought about why you want to speak from day one. Now the question is, well, how do you do it? How do you speak from the very first day, right? Remember, you don't know any vocabulary, you don't know any grammar, you don't know the pronunciation. How do you start speaking from the very first day? And the answer is simple, right? So find a language partner, and this is what you're going to do. At the very beginning, you're going to use a crutch. Use a dictionary. A tool like Google Translate is good, or DeepL, right? DeepL is also a very good tool for some of the languages. Not all are available, but DeepL is also a good tool. So here's what you do, right? Let's say you're starting to speak. You don't know a single word. You want to say, my name is Modja, right? But maybe you're learning German, right? So you don't know how to say my name is Modja because you don't know the language, right? So how do you start? You say, well, while you're speaking, on your very first day, you pull out your translation program, put it on the side, and you're like, okay, my name is so-and-so. Well, you just go into the translation program and you write there, my name is so-and-so, right? And you look up the word, say, Ich bin Modja. You just read it to the best of your ability. And then the native is going to start correcting you. The conversation partner is going to start correcting you. So at the beginning, this is going to be very awkward, obviously, right? That you always have to keep checking in the dictionary. It's going to be kind of weird. But my own experience, if you stick with it, if you stick to it, it will not take very long before you'll become very comfortable, and in fact, you'll know enough words to be able to operate without using the translation program. Now, the other very important tip when it comes to speaking from day one is your goal. Let's go to the basics. Why learn a language, right? What is the use of language? Why do we learn languages? The fundamental reason why human beings have language is to communicate. The language is a tool that enables me to get an idea out of my head into your head. That's what a language is. All right? So the goal is communication. The goal is not to speak with perfect grammar. The goal is not to have perfect pronunciation. The goal is to communicate. Most important thing. So when you're doing this, when you're speaking from day one, you're focusing on communication, right? So it's allowed for you can use Tarzan talk, right? You don't have to speak grammatically correct, right? Maybe instead of saying, I am hungry, you could just say, I hungry, done, right? I have a headache, you just touch your head and say, head is aching, right? Or I am sick, you could act out the sign of, the word, act out sickness, and then have the conversation partner give you a word, right? So you're not focused on once you just focus on communicating, passing an idea across, you're allowed to draw it and so on, you're going to realize that you're able to start communicating with speakers of the language way earlier than you thought. From the very beginning, actually, the ideas that you can transmit. And what's going to happen is the more you focus on pronunciation, the more you focus on communicating ideas, right, the more resourceful you're going to get. And it's not always going to be like that. Eventually, you're also going to start speaking correctly, beautifully, with better grammar, and so on and so forth, right? So those are really the two tips, right? I hope you haven't forgotten them. The two tips that can help you to speak from the very first day, right? In doing the most important activity in language learning, which is speaking. Here, use a dictionary. That was the first most important tip. Use a dictionary. Just make sure that the words that come out of your mouth are only in the target language. If I'm learning German, on the very first day when I'm talking with a native, only German words should come out of my mouth. Even if I don't know any German words, I can use a dictionary. I can look up the words, and out of my mouth, only German words should come out, or whatever my target language is. So that's the first thing. Use a dictionary. Second thing is focus on communication. Fuck perfectionism. Just you want to communicate an idea. If you focus on communication and you use every tool at your disposal, words, physical gestures, sounds, drawings, in no time you're going to start speaking the language and being able to communicate well, right? And soon also beautifully, all right? So look, I've beaten a dead horse here. This is really what I wanted to share with you today. Now look, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell notification. Ding, 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 ding. That way you'll be notified whenever I publish a new video. I publish a new video every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African Time. Alright? So thank you very much once again, and I hope to catch you on the next video. Bye.